Okay. Today's Torah portion is actually the continuation of the last week, which is about the Noach, which is from the book of Genesis. Actually, before starting this one, I wanted to say thank you for David for the evening session. It was wonderful. We learned a lot, and hope we'll learn much more in the upcoming weeks. And I have something to incorporate into parts of what we discussed today. So there was a man called Bernard, and he went and called the rabbi, and he said, "Rabbi, I have a problem." The rabbi goes like, "What's the problem?" He said, "My wife is trying to kill me." I said, I can't get this one. Yes, she is trying to poison me and she's trying to kill me. And the rabbi said that, "No, I don't think so. I don't believe you." He said, "No, Sarah is trying to poison me. She's trying to kill me." And then the rabbi said, "Okay, what I will do is I will talk to your wife, understand what's going on there, then I'll let you know." Then Rabbi called her a week later. It's over. Then Rabbi called Bernard again. "Bernard, this is me, and I talked to your wife almost for 3 hours. So, do you want to know my thoughts?" He said, "Yes, Rabbi, I want to know this one." He said, "You should take the poison." You should take the poison. So we are all right now in the situation, in the time of we need to have some poison or something, because the situation is like this. Noach, the portion, the Torah we're going to discuss today, I will try to wrap it up quickly because I want to hear from David, because he's going to give a nice message today. So Noach, we saw last time about how God is an awesome God as a creator. We also should know he was an awful God as a destroyer. Can you imagine that he created his world? He took time to create the whole world, and then after some time, he planned to wipe it off. How awful it is! Like, what is this? Is our God so cruel? Why would he want to do that? So what he didn't plan well, or he wanted to redesign back again. What's going on there? So before we analyze this one, so we'll just take some of the other issues here. In Jewish culture, it is always that they come up with always parables. A lot of parable stories are there, and even Jesus used some of the parables from the existing stories there. So one of the stories, what I heard was, there was a king, and the king hired some dumb and deaf people in his palace. So whenever he walks into the palace, these people will praise him by some signs and gestures. So the king was enjoying that because the signs and gestures were so nice. They were praising him. So then he thought, how come we can bring some faculties inside than this gesture, so that it will be much more interesting. So he removed all these dumb and deaf people and brought all the other people, those who can shout and sing. And so this was going on, and king was enjoying too much because this shouting and going, it was exciting him. Then at one point, these people started claiming the palace belongs to them. So they said that, "No, we are the palace people. The palace belongs to us." So the king got into surprise. He said that, "No, that's not nice." So he removed them back, and then he brought them back again, the dumb and deaf people, with the signs and gestures. Likewise, when God created this world, he was hovering over the oceans, the waves. He enjoyed the muted praise of the oceans, because under the ocean, there's a lot of animals inside there. They could not speak out. They could not make anything. That is the only word for them. They cannot escape. They escape, they die. So there is no tracks or roads that they can walk in one track, and there's no bed or something. So everything is dependent on God. Just dependent on God. they were depending and praising. So God was enjoying this muted praise. He was hovering over the ocean. That's the first word we see, right? So he was hovering over there. And then, the day one. When we see in the Hebrew Bible, it is day one, and the second day is called the second day. It's not day 2, day 3. But in other Bibles, it's like day 2, day 3, day 4. In Hebrew, it is day 1, and the second one is the second day, third day, fourth day. There's a big shift from day 1 to second day. Why? The day 1 is the oneness of God. The whole world was one with oneness with Him. Everything was praising to Him. He was enjoying the creation on the day 1. The second day, third day, it's a different thing. It took a different route on that one. So why I am saying this one is everything went wrong after the creation. All of us and everything went wrong. The whole world becomes so sinful. A lot of immoralities. People are fighting each other. And God thought, okay, something we need to do with this one. So let us wipe out and bring some new thing over there. So he calls Noah and asks him to build the Noah's Ark. And Noah was building a fantastic ark. And you know what was the wood he used? Ophir. So the ophir is a wood which can bend and flexible. You can bend that wood, but at the same time, it is so strong as cedar. So strong, but it can bend. So that, he can bend wherever he needed to bend, so that, water may not come inside the ark. So likewise, our life also should be like that. If you want to float on this type of ocean, on the troublesome world over here, we need to have the strong cedar-like wood in our heart building, and like a flexibility that the ophir had, so that we cannot get all the other sins or anything to filtrate or infiltrate inside the ark. Inside the ark, like in our hearts. There were two kinds of generations: before the flood and after the flood. Right? Actually, the generation after the flood was the one doing very bad, because they were all united together, building a building against God. But flood before the generation was not doing that. So why would God wipe out the flood, the generation before the flood, but He just dispersed this generation here after the flood? He just confused the language and dispersed them. That's all He did. But the generation before the flood, He totally wiped off. You know why? Because the generation before the flood was so cunning, fighting each other, immorality and unrighteousness. It was totally, they didn't even care about there is a God existing. It is about just among themselves. Selfishness, cruel, everything was there. Arrogance, rudeness, everything is filled in the land. They totally forgot the God. At least the flood after, the generation of the flood, they were united together. So God wanted to wipe it out and, take it and bring a new generation over there. The same situation right now we are here. The same thing. The generation is totally forgotten God. Especially the new generation, they don't want even to recognize God. Where is He? So completely the world is towards sinful conditions. We cannot even imagine the sin which is filled in this world. So after the flood, what happens? There's a rainbow. What the rainbow reflects? Rainbow, how it is formed, how it is generated. It's clear water particles in the air, and the sun rays or sunlight refracts and reflects through that one. So the transparent water particles. We are expected to be like this in this world like that. We need to be more transparent enough so that God's light can come through and we can reflect and refract the God's holiness to the other people. Mm-hmm. Whenever we see the rainbow, that should always remind us, I am a water particle. I'm a transparent person that God wants us. That's why the rainbow came after the rain. No one has seen the rain before. That's the one of the things that we must always think about, that when we see the rainbow. So how we can do this one? How we'll get these things done in the sinful world? That's what we were discussing in today's evening. How come we can stop certain things? We cannot stop because we are already liable for so many sins without our knowledge, because we are so much compromised in this world. We don't know which is sin, which is not sin. That's what we come to hear. The Torah, the commandments, the whole world totally forgotten the commandments to follow. That's the biggest mistake in the world's history, that we are here today with all the diseases, all the sins surrounding to us. Commandments. Jesus followed almost 613 commandments. He completely, thoroughly, he followed that one. So why not we? Because when God comes back, He's going to look the Word, what is inside us. What commandment you have inside our heart. That's what He's going to, because He is the Word. He's going to search for His Word in our hearts. He doesn't need to know what it did, this and that. He is going to check your heart, scan it through, how many commandments you have inside. That's it. Bingo, that makes you whether you're right or wrong. That the more commandments, the more Torah we write in our hearts, the more closer we are to God. Even if you talk about, if you see in Revelation 12, verse 17, it says that, then the dragon was angry at the woman and decided to war against the rest of her children, all who keep God's commandments and maintain their testimony for Jesus. Simple as it is. He's going to check only how many Torahs you have inside your heart. Bottom line, if you have the Torah inside, you're following it. Bottom line, how many commandments you are having inside, we're going to follow it. So the Torahs and commandments are going to make us very close to our God. Noach is the portion that we must learn from our Bible and Torah. Thank you.